Okay, hi there, and welcome to this next in the series of movies I'm making about the Bronica SQ-Ai medium format camera. In this movie, we're going to talk about how we can take the camera apart down into its constituent parts and obviously put it back together again, which is handy. It just gives you a little bit of an understanding of how the camera's put together and will broaden your knowledge of your piece of equipment. As we've said before in previous movies, this camera is what we consider to be a system camera, in that it's made up of several interchangeable parts, any of which can be used together with a different body. So on the front we have the lens, the middle we have the camera body, on the rear we have the film magazine, and on the top we have a viewfinder, which in this case is the waist level finder, which pops up and we look inside the top. Now the great thing with a camera like this is, obviously, while one would normally have several different lenses, different focal lengths, wide angle, normal, telephoto for different applications, you may also have things like a macro lens for doing close-up work, and possibly some extension tubes which you put between the lens and the body to facilitate close-up work. The great thing with this is, if I want a spare camera, the only part I really need to duplicate is the camera body, this bit in the centre. Because if something, say I'm using this camera, I have a spare camera body, something goes wrong with this body, I can just take all these parts, the lens, the finder and the film magazine off, put them onto my new camera body, and I have a completely new working camera. So the good thing there is, essentially, you can carry a backup camera without having to carry an entire camera and have the extra weight of that. So it allows you to be backed up, but in actually quite a small, light package. Because this body in the middle, most of the weight is actually in the lens and the film magazine in this camera. The body in itself, in the sense, is actually quite compact and light. Okay, so how do we take the camera apart? Well, we'll start first of all with the lens. It's very simple. The lens release catch is just this catch here on the left-hand side of the camera. And in order to remove the lens, we just pull the catch down, get a nice hold of the lens, and turn it and lift it off. Okay, if we have a look here on the front, then you can see there's a little orange mark at the top here, and also on the lens there's a red dot here as well. This just helps us when we line the lens up to get it correctly lined up for putting it back onto the body, but we'll see that in a little minute. Working our way back then, the film magazine. In order to remove the film magazine, we have to have this dark slide actually fitted. There's a safety mechanism built in here which stops us if we try and press this button down and take the film magazine off now. You can see we can't do that. That's a safety feature to stop us from removing the film magazine by accident without the dark slide in, because that would allow light into the film, which would fog the film and ruin at least one frame, possibly more, fog more frames on the film. So in order to remove it, we have to put the dark slide in. If we have a little look on the dark slide here, you can see there's a little round mark at the top here, and that corresponds with another round mark here on the body, so that shows us the correct way up to put the dark slide into the camera. Also, if we have a look at the bottom end of the dark slide here, you can see there's just a little notch here on the bottom, and that is the bit that basically actuates the safety lock, which allows us to take the film back off. So if we slot this in here and push it in, and we want to make sure that we click that all the way in, and then once that's in there, we just press down this button here and we can lift the film magazine off the back. Easy as that. Just very quickly, while we've got the film magazine off the back here, then if we have a look in the back of the camera, this area here, what we can see here is actually it's the back of the mirror. Inside, if we look inside the throat of the camera here, the mirror, and it's actually a sort of light-proof panel which comes down behind the mirror and stops light from getting through into the film. Now this is reasonably fragile. It's not as fragile as the shutter curtain on some 35mm SRs, which are so thin. But you don't want to be sticking fingers and stuff into the back and you don't want to be getting sort of fluff and dust into the back of the camera. So if you have a spare camera body and you're carrying it without anything attached to it, there is actually a blanking plate that you can put on the back, and you have a body cap that goes on the front as well. And you'd be well advised to fit those if you're carrying just a body by itself in your camera bag. It will stop any damage to these sort of sensitive parts of the camera. You can also see there's a couple of little interlocks so that the film magazine can communicate with the film body, and also some gearing here on the side, which when we turn the main crank is what advances the film in the film magazine. Okay, so turning us around on to the right hand side of the camera body here, we have another similar switch, and this switch basically lets us take the viewfinder off the top. So again, we just slide the switch down, and to take the viewfinder off we just slide it back until it clicks. It can be a little bit stiff sometimes, and then we just lift it off. Simple as that. Okay, so we now really have, what we have here is just the camera body itself. As you can see, we're sort of looking up through the mirror here. On the top here, you can see we've got some gold coloured contacts here. You'll see that there's also contacts on the lens. This basically allows the lens settings to be transmitted to, if you're using a metering prism on here, it allows the settings to be transmitted there so that it can work the exposure out correctly. We're looking at the top here. This is the focusing screen, and the focusing screen I've got fitted here is just the standard one, Bronica one, that comes with the camera. You can buy sort of aftermarket focusing screens which claim to give you a brighter viewfinder image. I can't comment on those because I haven't tried any of them. And also there are other ones available which have things like grid lines marked on them as well, which may be handy if you're doing copy work or architectural photography. We can take the viewfinder screen out. Perhaps if we want to change it or to give it a clean, it's very simple. There's a couple of little catches here, I don't know if you can see them. There's one there, one on the other side. And we just clip that and that one back, and once that's done, then we can just tip it over and take the ground glass, as it were, out. Now that's quite handy if you get dust and stuff in underneath the focusing screen, and you want to take it out and give it a very, very gentle clean, because you don't want to scratch this. It's quite, I say ground glass, it's actually made from some sort of, I presume from perspex or something like that, but it can be quite soft, so if you've got a bit of dirt in there and you rub it too hard, you run the risk of scratching that screen, so just be careful. Putting it back in again, it's very easy. You can only put the viewfinder in the right way around. If you have a look on the bottom here, there's just a little tag here. It means it's impossible to put the viewfinder in sort of upside down, backwards, or to the side, so we can only put it in one way. And to put it in, we just drop it back in there, and then using your fingernail, it can be a little bit fiddly, we just push the catches up there, and that holds the ground glass in place. And you can see if we tip it up, it doesn't want to fall out now. Okay, so I'm just going to put the camera back together quite quickly now, starting with the viewfinder. We just place it on the top, slightly back from its normal position. You can see that it drops in, and then we just slide it forward until it clicks, and that's in place. The film magazine, you'll see that there's two notches up the top here, which corresponds with the two hooks on the top of the film magazine. We want to just, using the top first, place them in like that, and then just push the film magazine down until it clicks into place. And then finally putting the lens back on, as I said before, orange mark at the top, line it up with a red mark on the lens, we slot in, and we just rotate the lens anti-clockwise as you're looking at it until it clicks into place. And that is the camera put back together. Thanks very much for watching, and in the next movie we will talk about the film loading process for the camera.